The stars looked different that morning when Captain Jake Morrison walked into the command center on Luna Station. He had been watching space for 15 years, but today something felt wrong. The coffee in his hand grew cold as he stared at the big screen showing the edge of their solar system. "Sir, you need to see this," called Lieutenant Amy Richardson from her desk. Her voice was tight with worry. She had been working the night shift, and her eyes were red from staring at computer screens. "We have contacts coming in from deep space. Big ones." Jake set down his coffee and walked over to her station. The numbers on her screen made his stomach drop. 12 massive objects were moving toward Earth at incredible speed. They were bigger than anything humans had ever built. Each ship was the size of a small city. "How long do we have?" Jake asked. "At their current speed, they will reach Earth." "Orbit in 6 hours," Amy said. She pressed a few buttons and more data appeared on her screen. "Sir, they are sending us a message." Jake nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The room filled with a strange musical sound. Then the screen showed something that made everyone in the command center stop what they were doing. A tall, thin creature with blue skin and 4 arms stood in what looked like a crystal palace. Its voice was smooth and pleasant when it spoke in perfect English. "Greetings, people of Earth. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Confederation. We come in peace to welcome you into our great family of worlds. We bring gifts of knowledge and technology that will change your lives forever." Jake felt his jaw tighten. The alien's words sounded nice, but something about the way it spoke made him nervous. It reminded him of politicians back on Earth who promised everything and delivered nothing. The message continued. "We know this must be surprising for you. Your species has only recently learned to travel between planets. We have been watching your progress with great interest. The time has come for Earth to join the galactic community." Lieutenant Richardson looked up at Jake. "Should I wake up Admiral Brooks?" "Do it now," Jake said. He kept watching the alien on the screen. Ambassador Veltar was still talking about peace and friendship, but Jake noticed something else. Behind the alien, he could see other creatures moving around. They all looked busy, like they were preparing for something important. "We will arrive at your beautiful world in a few short hours," the ambassador said. "Please prepare your leaders for our arrival. We have so much to discuss about Earth's future in the Confederation." The message ended, and the screen went back to showing the approaching ships. Jake grabbed the phone to call Earth directly. Admiral Charles Brooks needed to know about this right away. On Earth, Admiral Brooks was having his morning briefing when Jake's call came through. Brooks was a tough old soldier who had fought in 3 wars. When he heard about the alien ships, his face went stone cold. "Get me the president on the line," Brooks told his aide, "and call Dr. Helen Martinez. We need her expertise on this." Dr. Martinez was Earth's top expert on alien life. She had spent her whole career studying signals from space and preparing for this exact moment. When she arrived at the Pentagon an hour later, she looked excited and terrified at the same time. "This is what we have been waiting for," she said, as she looked at the recordings of the alien message. "But something feels wrong about their approach." President Robert Hayes joined the meeting by video call from the White House. He looked tired but alert. "What are we dealing with here, people?" Dr. Martinez pulled up her analysis on the big screen. "The Zephyrians claim to be peaceful, but look at this." She pointed to details in the background of their message. "Those ships are not just diplomatic vessels. Our computers found weapon signatures hidden throughout their hulls." Admiral Brooks leaned forward. "What kind of weapons?" "Energy. Beams, missile systems, and something else we cannot identify," Martinez said. "These ships could destroy our entire fleet without breaking a sweat." The president was quiet for a moment. "What do they want from us?" "That is the question," Martinez said. She pulled up more data. I have been studying their message very carefully. They talk about joining their confederation, but listen to the exact words they use. She played parts of the message again. This time, everyone paid attention to the small details. The ambassador talked about resource surveys and population counts. He mentioned Zephyrian administrative zones and integration protocols. They are not offering us a choice, Jake said over the video link from Luna Station. They are telling us what is going to happen. Admiral Brooks stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see people going about their normal lives. They had no idea that everything was about to change. How long do we have before they arrive? The president asked. 4 hours and 30 minutes. Jake reported. Dr. Martinez looked at her notes. Mr. President, I have been studying reports from other star systems. The Zephyrians have done this before. They always start with diplomacy and peaceful offers. But within a few years, the local governments disappear and everything is run by Zephyrian administrators. The president's face grew grim. Are you telling me they are planning to take over Earth? That is exactly what I am telling you, Martinez said. They just do it slowly and politely so nobody fights back. Admiral Brooks turned back to the group. Well, they picked the wrong species this time. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what the Admiral meant. Humans had never been good at surrendering. They had fought wars against each other for thousands of years. If the aliens thought Earth would give up without a fight, they were about to learn otherwise. What are options? The president asked. Brooks smiled, but it was not a happy smile. We show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. The alien ships continued their approach toward Earth, their crews confident that this would be just another easy conquest. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this moment much longer than anyone realized. In hidden bases around the solar system, machines began to wake up. 3 hours before the alien ships arrived, General Lisa Parker was already deep underground in a secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. She had been waiting for this day for 8 years. Around her, hundreds of screens showed activity happening all across the solar system. Begin Phase 1, she said into her headset. Immediately, hidden bases on Mars, Europa, and in the asteroid belt received her signal. Machines that had been sleeping for years suddenly came to life. Dr. Peter Chun sat in his office, watching the same screens. He was the man who had designed humanity's secret weapon. For the past decade, he had been telling everyone he worked on space mining equipment. That was not exactly a lie, but it was not the whole truth either. The construction platforms are responding, he told General Parker. All systems are green. We can begin the final assembly. Far out in the asteroid belt, massive machines began their work. To anyone watching, it would look like normal mining operations. Robot ships moved between asteroids, cutting and collecting metal. But these materials were not going to Earth. They were being taken to a construction site hidden behind the largest asteroid. Commander Steve Johnson was in a simulator pod when the alert came through. He had been training for this mission every day for 3 years. Around him, 50 other pilots were doing the same thing. They were the best humanity had to offer, chosen from air forces around the world. All pilots report to Briefing Room 7, came the announcement. Steve climbed out of his pod and joined the others. They all knew this was not another drill. Today was the real thing. In the briefing room, a large screen showed the alien ships approaching Earth. Steve could see the worry on his fellow pilots' faces. The enemy vessels were bigger than anything they had ever seen. Today we find out if all our training was worth it, said Colonel Mary Davis as she entered the room. She was their squadron leader, a woman who had flown combat missions in 4 different conflicts. The aliens think they are dealing with a primitive species. We are going to show them how wrong they are. Back on Luna Station, Captain Jake Morrison, watched the alien fleet slow down as it reached Earth orbit. The ships were even more impressive up close. Their hulls seemed to be made of some kind of crystal that reflected the light from the sun in rainbow patterns. "They are beautiful, Lieutenant," Amy Richardson said quietly. "So are poisonous snakes," Jake replied. He had seen the weapons analysis. These ships could turn Earth into a smoking rock if they wanted to. The lead alien ship sent another message. Ambassador Veltar appeared on the screen again, his forearms moving gracefully as he spoke. "People of Earth, we have arrived as promised. We are now establishing a diplomatic station above your world. Our representatives will be coming down to meet with your leaders shortly. Please prepare suitable accommodations for our embassy staff." Jake watched as one of the alien ships moved closer to Earth and began building something in orbit. Within hours, a large structure took shape. It looked like a crystal palace floating in space, connected to the alien ship by tubes of light. On Earth, world leaders gathered in emergency sessions. The aliens had not asked permission to build their orbital embassy. They had simply done it. President Hayes met with his advisors in the White House Situation Room. "They are not acting like guests," said Secretary of State Linda Wilson. "They are acting like they own the place," Admiral Brooks nodded. "That is because they think they do. In their minds, Earth already belongs to them. They are just going through the motions of making it official." Dr. Helen Martinez had been studying more intercepted alien communications. "I have been analyzing their internal messages. They are already dividing up Earth's resources among themselves. They talk about our planet like it is a business opportunity. Meanwhile, in space, engineer Nicole Williams was working on humanity's greatest project. She floated in zero gravity inside a construction bay that stretched for kilometers. Around her, thousands of workers assembled components that had been built in secret factories all over the solar system. Section 47 is complete, she reported to Dr. Chun. "We are ahead of schedule." The thing they were building was impossible to describe. It was a ship, but calling it a ship was like calling a mountain a rock. It was 20 kilometers long and 5 kilometers wide. Its hull was made from metals that did not exist naturally on any planet. Human scientists had created new alloys. Specifically for this project, Dr. Ryan Clark was responsible for the ship's weapon systems. He stood in the main armory bay, looking at guns that could punch holes through asteroids. The main weapon was something that had never been built before. It could accelerate a projectile to 1/10 the speed of light. "The aliens have never seen anything like this," he told his team. "Their weapons are designed to fight other aliens who follow the same rules they do. Humans have never been good at following rules." Back on Earth, the first alien shuttles began, landing in major cities. Ambassador Veltar himself came down to Washington, D.C., where he was greeted by President Hayes and other world leaders. The alien ambassador was tall and graceful, his blue skin shimmering in the sunlight. When he spoke, his voice was like music. "Your world is even more beautiful than our surveys indicated," he said. "The Zephyrian Confederation is honored to welcome Earth into our family." President Hayes shook the alien's hand, though it felt strange with its 4 fingers. "We appreciate your visit, Ambassador. We look forward to learning more about your confederation." Over the next few hours, the aliens presented their offer. They spoke of advanced technology, medical breakthroughs, and unlimited energy. All they asked in return was for Earth to accept Zephyrian guidance and planetary management. Dr. Martinez listened to every word from her position as an advisor. The offer sounded wonderful, but she noticed what the aliens did not say. They never mentioned what would happen if Earth refused their help. That evening, Ambassador Veltar held a press conference that was broadcast around the world. He stood before cameras and reporters, his alien features exotic and fascinating. Your species has great potential, he told the watching world. But you face many challenges. War, poverty, environmental damage. The Confederation has solutions to all these problems. We have helped hundreds of worlds achieve peace and prosperity. The reporters asked many questions, but Viltar answered them all with the same basic message. Join the Confederation and Earth's problems would disappear. Stay independent and continue to struggle alone. What he did not mention was that none of those hundreds of worlds had their own governments anymore. They were all run by Zephine administrators, who made every important decision. As the alien ambassadors spoke to the world, General Parker received a message in her underground command center. Final assembly is 70% complete, Doctor. Chun reported. We will be ready in 18 hours. Good, Parker replied, because I do not think our guests are going to wait much longer for an answer. In orbit above Earth, more alien ships were arriving. The Zephyrian fleet was growing larger by the hour. What had started as a diplomatic mission was beginning to look like an invasion force. The aliens thought they had all the advantages. They had bigger ships, better technology, and thousands of years of experience conquering primitive worlds. They had no idea that the primitive humans had been building something in the dark spaces between the planets, something that would change everything. 2 days after the aliens arrived, Ambassador Veltar was losing his patience. He stood in his crystal embassy above Earth, looking down at the blue planet with growing frustration. His 4 arms moved quickly as he spoke to his military commander. These humans are taking too long to decide, he said. Every other species accepts our offer within hours. What is wrong with them? Commander Zekros was a soldier who had conquered 12 worlds for the Confederation. His skin was darker blue than the ambassadors, and scars covered his arms from old battles. Perhaps they need more encouragement, Ambassador. I could move our battle fleet closer to their planet. Veltar considered this. In the past, a show of force always worked. Primitive species understood strength, even when they did not understand. Diplomacy. On Earth, President Hayes was meeting with world leaders in an emergency video conference. The faces on his screen showed the strain everyone was feeling. The alien ships in orbit cast shadows over major cities as they passed overhead. They are getting impatient, said the President of Brazil. Their tone has changed in the last few hours. Prime Minister Thompson of Britain nodded. Our intelligence services report increased activity on their ships. They are powering up weapon systems. President Hayes looked tired. He had not slept in 2 days. How much more time do we need? Admiral Brooks answered from his position at the Pentagon. General Parker says 6 more hours. The project is almost complete. Dr. Helen Martinez had been monitoring alien communications all night. Her face was pale with exhaustion and worry. Mr. President, I think we need to prepare for the worst. Their internal messages are becoming more aggressive. They are talking about making an example of Earth. In the secret facility under the mountains, General Parker was watching the final stages of construction. On her screens, she could see the massive ship taking shape in the asteroid belt. It was the largest thing humans had ever built, and it was almost ready. Final systems coming online now, reported Dr. Peter Chun from his control station. Weapons, engines, life support, everything is functioning perfectly. Engineer Nicole Williams floated in the ship's command center, running final checks on the control systems. The bridge was enormous, designed to coordinate the actions of 15,000 crew members. It looked like a cathedral made of metal and electronics. All stations report ready for crew transfer, she announced. Around the solar system, transport ships began moving toward the hidden construction site. The best and brightest humans were about to board their new weapon. Commander Steve Johnson was on one of those transport ships. He looked out the window as they approached the massive vessel. Even though he had seen it in simulations, the real thing took his breath away. "It is beautiful," said Captain Lisa Ford, who was sitting next to him. She was one of the fighter pilots who would launch from the ship's hangar bays. And terrifying. The ship was not just big. It was elegant in a way that showed human engineering at its finest. Every line and curve had a purpose. This was not just a weapon. It was a work of art designed to make war. Back on Earth, Ambassador Veltar made his decision. He sent a message to all the world's capitals, demanding that Earth's leaders meet with him immediately. The tone of his voice had changed completely. The friendly diplomat was gone, replaced by something much more dangerous. "People of Earth," he said in his broadcast, "the Zephyrian Confederation has offered you friendship and prosperity. You have had more than enough time to consider our generous terms. You now have 24 hours to accept our offer and join the Confederation." He paused, letting his words sink in. "If you refuse, we will be forced to conclude that Earth is not ready for membership in the galactic community. In such cases, the Confederation has protocols for dealing with hostile primitive species." The threat was clear. "Accept or be destroyed." President Hayes called an emergency session of the United Nations. World leaders gathered in New York, while their people watched in fear. The alien ships above Earth had moved into threatening positions, their weapons pointed downward. Intelligence Officer Captain Lara Davis briefed the assembled leaders on what her teams had discovered. "We have identified the locations of their primary weapons. Each ship carries enough firepower to destroy a continent. Together, they could burn our entire planet." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what they were facing. The aliens had been polite as long as they thought Earth would surrender peacefully. Now that humans were hesitating, their true nature was showing. "What about evacuation?" asked the President of Japan. "Can we get our people to safety?" Admiral Brooks shook his head. "There is nowhere to run. Their ships can catch anything we have. If we are going to survive this, we have to fight." Dr. Martinez stood up to address the assembly. "I have studied their methods on other worlds. The Zephyrians always follow the same pattern. First diplomacy, then threats, then complete conquest. They have never failed to take a world they wanted. Until now," said President Hayes quietly. At that moment, General Parker's voice came through on the secure communication line. "Mr. President, we are ready. The weapon is fully operational, and the crew is aboard. We can begin the mission whenever you give the order." The President looked around the room at the faces of world leaders. He saw fear, but he also saw determination. Humans had always been fighters. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. They would not give up their freedom without a battle. "General Parker," he said into the microphone, "you are authorized to proceed." In the asteroid belt, Commander Steve Johnson received the order. He was now captain of humanity's greatest creation. Around him, 15,000 crew members prepared for the most important battle in human history. "All stations, this is the captain," he announced over the ship's communication system. "We have our orders. Today, we show the galaxy what humans are capable of. Today, we prove that Earth bows to no one." A massive ship began to move, its engines creating a light that could be seen from Mars. It was heading toward Earth, but not to defend the planet. It was going to attack. Dr. Ryan Clark stood in the weapons control center, his hands moving over controls that could destroy entire fleets. "Main gun charging," he reported. "All missile systems ready. Point defense online." The ship was not just moving toward Earth. It was announcing itself to the galaxy. Every species with the technology to detect it would see humanity's answer to alien threats. Ambassador Veltar was in his embassy when his sensors detected something moving toward Earth from the asteroid belt. At first, he thought it was another small human ship trying to evacuate people. Then his computers analyzed the energy readings. "That is impossible," he whispered. Commander Zekros looked at the same data and felt something he had not experienced in decades: fear. "Ambassador," he said quietly, "we may have made a mistake about these humans. The object approaching Earth was not just big. It was radiating energy signatures that their computers could barely measure. Whatever the humans had built, it was unlike anything in Zephyrian records." Veltar activated his communication system to contact the Confederation Fleet Command. "This is Ambassador Veltar. We need immediate reinforcements at the Earth system. The humans have surprised us." But it was too late for reinforcements. Humanity's answer to alien diplomacy was already moving at full speed toward Earth. In a few hours, the galaxy would learn that some species simply refused to be conquered. The war for Earth was about to begin, and the aliens were about to discover that humans had been preparing for this fight much longer than anyone imagined. The human ship appeared on every screen in the Zephyrian fleet at the same time. Ambassador Veltar stared at the readings in disbelief. The vessel was 20 kilometers long and covered in weapons that his computers could not identify. "How did they build this?" he whispered to Commander Zekros. "Our intelligence said they barely had space travel." Zekros was studying the tactical display with growing concern. "Sir, that ship is generating more power than our entire fleet combined. Its mass readings are off our scales." The UE's Leviathan emerged from behind Earth's moon like a moving mountain. Captain Danny Rodriguez stood on the bridge, looking out at the alien fleet through the massive viewing windows. He had trained for this moment his entire adult life. "All stations report ready for combat," announced Lieutenant Commander Betty Clark from her position at the tactical station. Around the bridge, dozens of officers worked at their stations with calm efficiency. "Communications, open a channel." "To the alien fleet," Rodriguez ordered. "Let them know who they are dealing with." The message went out on all frequencies. Rodriguez's voice was steady and clear as he spoke to the aliens who had come to conquer his world. "This is Captain Danny Rodriguez of the United Earthship Leviathan. You came to our system claiming to offer peace. You lied. You came as conquerors disguised as diplomats. We reject your offer. We reject your threats. Leave our system now or face the consequences." On the alien flagship, Ambassador Veltar felt his confidence crumbling. The human ship was impossible, according to everything the Confederation knew about primitive species. How could they have built something so advanced in secret? "Ambassador," said Zekros urgently, "we should withdraw and call for reinforcements. That ship is too big for our fleet to handle alone." But Veltar's pride would not let him retreat. The Confederation had never been challenged by a primitive species. If word got out that they had run from humans, their entire empire might face rebellion. "All ships, attack formation," he ordered. "We will show these humans the price of defying the Confederation." The Zephyrian fleet moved into battle positions. 37 ships surrounded the lone human vessel, their crystal hulls gleaming as they charged their weapons. They had overwhelming numbers and thousands of years of combat experience. Captain Rodriguez watched the alien ships spreading out around his vessel. "Chief Weapons Officer Miller, you may fire when ready." Sandra Miller had been waiting her whole career for this moment. She looked at her targeting display, which showed all 37 alien ships highlighted in red. All weapons locked on. "Target, Captain. Firing main gun." The Leviathan's spinal weapon fired with a flash that lit up the entire solar system. A projectile accelerated to tremendous speed shot across space and struck the largest Zephyrian ship. The alien vessel simply vanished in a ball of fire and debris. Direct hit on their flagship, Miller reported calmly. Target destroyed. The remaining alien ships opened fire immediately. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human ship. But the Leviathan's point defense systems came alive, creating walls of laser fire that destroyed incoming weapons before they could reach the hull. Engineer Tony Lewis coordinated damage control from his station deep inside the ship. All sections report minimal damage. Their weapons cannot penetrate our armor. The Leviathan's secondary weapons began firing at the alien fleet. Missile pods launched volleys of smart projectiles that chased enemy ships across space. Particle beam arrays reached out to touch alien hulls with fingers of destructive energy. Commander G-Crows watched in horror as his ships died around him. The human vessel was not just big. It was a masterpiece of military engineering that made his own ships look like toys. "How are they doing this?" he shouted at his tactical officer. "Our weapons should be superior to anything a primitive species can build." But his tactical officer had no answers. The human ship fought with a precision and power that defied everything they knew about galactic warfare. Captain Lisa Ford led her fighter squadron out of the Leviathan's hangar bays. The small human ships moved like dancers among the massive alien vessels, their pilots using reflexes and intuition that no alien could match. "Fox Squadron, this is lead," she called over the radio. "Pit your targets and show them what human pilots can do." The human fighters darted between the alien ships, firing missiles and energy weapons at weak points that their computers had identified. The Zephyrian ships were designed to fight other large vessels, not small, fast targets that moved like angry insects. Back on Earth, people watched the battle on every available screen. In cities around the world, crowds gathered in streets and squares to see their champions fighting in the darkness above. President Hayes stood in the White House Situation Room, watching the tactical display with Admiral Brooks and Dr. Martinez. The human ship was winning, but the cost of failure would be the end of their species. "How long can they keep this up?" the president asked. Admiral Brooks studied the reports coming in from the Leviathan. Their ship was built for this kind of fight. As long as they have ammunition and power, they can handle anything the aliens throw at them. The battle continued for 2 hours. One by one, the Zephyrian ships were destroyed or disabled by the massive human warship. Their crystal hulls cracked under the impact of human weapons. Their advanced technology meant nothing against the raw power of human engineering. Commander Seacross found himself in command of the alien fleet when Ambassador Veltar's ship was destroyed. He looked at his remaining 12 vessels and made a decision that would have been unthinkable hours earlier. "All ships withdraw immediately," he ordered. "We cannot win this battle." But Captain Rodriguez was not finished. "Tactical, target their remaining ships. We let none of them escape to bring reinforcements." The Leviathan's weapons reached out across impossible distances to strike fleeing enemy vessels. One by one, the remaining Zephyrian ships were destroyed until only 2 remained. Z-Crows broadcast a surrender message on all frequencies. "Human ship, we yield, we surrender. Please show mercy." Rodriguez considered the request. These aliens had come to enslave his species. They deserved no mercy. But he was not a murderer, and humans were better than their enemies. "Alien Commander, you have one chance," he said. "Take your remaining ships and leave our system. If any Confederation vessel ever approaches Earth again, we will destroy it without warning. Tell your leaders that Earth is not for conquest." The 2 surviving alien ships limped away from Earth at maximum speed. Behind them, the Leviathan hung in space like a monument to human determination and engineering skill. On the bridge, Captain Rodriguez looked out at the debris field that had once been an alien fleet. Communications, send a message to Earth. Tell them the threat has been eliminated. The battle was over, but Rodriguez knew this was just the beginning. Word of humanity's victory would spread across the galaxy. Other species would come to test Earth's defenses, either as enemies or potential allies. But the message was clear. Humanity would meet them as equals, never as subjects. The galaxy had learned that some species simply refused to kneel. The Leviathan turned toward Earth, its mission complete. Below, billions of humans celebrated their freedom and looked up at the stars with new confidence. They were no longer alone in the universe, but they were not afraid. Earth had announced its presence to the galaxy with thunder and fire, and the galaxy would never forget. 3 months after the battle, everything had changed. The 2 surviving Zephyrian ships had reached their home worlds and spread the news across the galaxy. Earth was no longer an unknown planet on the edge of space. Now every species in the galaxy knew about the humans and their impossible warship. Captain Danny Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Leviathan, reading reports from across known space. The ship now orbited Earth like a guardian, its massive bulk visible to everyone. On the planet below, children pointed at it during the day, and lovers made wishes on it at night. "Captain, we have another delegation requesting permission to approach," announced Communications Officer Paul Martinez. "This makes 15 this week." Rodriguez looked at the latest request. The Altarian Republic wanted to discuss trade agreements. Before them, it had been the Centauri Alliance offering mutual defense pacts. The week before, 3 different species had asked for help with their own military problems. "Schedule them for next Tuesday," Rodriguez said. "Make sure they understand our rules. No weapons, small ships only, and they wait for our permission before entering the system." The galaxy had learned to approach Earth very carefully. Word had spread about what happened to species that threatened humanity. The debris field from the Zephyrian fleet still floated in Earth orbit as a warning to anyone who might have hostile intentions. Dr. Helen Martinez worked in her new office at the Global Contact Center, a building that had been constructed in just 2 months to handle alien communications. She was now Earth's chief expert on galactic politics, and her job was busier than she had ever imagined. "The hegemony wants to hire us as military advisors," she told President Hayes during their weekly briefing. "They are facing rebellion in 3 star systems and think human tactics could help them." President Hayes reviewed the offer on his tablet. The money was enormous, but he was cautious about getting involved in alien wars. "What do you think, Admiral?" Admiral Brooks had been promoted to head of Earth's new Galactic Defense Force. "I think we should be very careful about who we help. Our reputation is our greatest weapon now. We do not want to be seen as mercenaries." The reputation Admiral Brooks mentioned was growing every day. Stories about the battle spread through spaceports and trading stations across the galaxy. Each telling made the human ship bigger and more powerful. Some stories claimed it could destroy entire star systems with a single shot. Engineer Nicole Williams was back on the Leviathan, overseeing improvements to the ship's systems. The battle had shown that human technology was superior to anything the aliens had, but she was not satisfied with just being better. She wanted to be unstoppable. "The new armor plating is ready for installation," she reported to Captain Rodriguez. "And Dr. Clark has finished designing the upgraded weapon systems." Dr. Ryan Clark had become famous throughout human space as the man who designed the Leviathan's weapons. Military leaders from around Earth came to study his work, hoping to build more ships like the great vessel. "We could build a fleet of these ships," he told General Parker during a planning meeting. "With 5 or 6 Leviathan-class vessels, we could protect human colonies anywhere in the galaxy." But General Parker was thinking bigger than just defense. What if we do not want to just protect our colonies? What if we want to expand? The idea of human expansion was being discussed in government buildings around Earth. The galaxy was huge, and humans had always been explorers. Now that they had proven their strength, many people wanted to claim new worlds and build a human empire among the stars. Commander Steve Johnson had been promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's growing space fleet. The Leviathan was no longer alone. Smaller but still powerful ships were being built in the shipyards around Earth and Mars. The second battle group will be ready in 6 months, he reported to President Hayes. After that, we can start thinking about establishing colonies beyond the solar system. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the news of Earth's victory was causing political chaos. The Zephyrian Confederation was falling apart as member worlds questioned why they should obey leaders who had been defeated by primitive species. Commander Gekros, one of the 2 survivors from the Earth battle, found himself testifying before the Confederation Council. The alien leaders wanted to know how their mighty fleet had been destroyed so easily. The humans were not primitive, he told the council. Their ship was more advanced than anything we have ever seen. Their weapons, their armor, their tactics, everything was superior to our technology. The council members looked at each other with worry and fear. If the humans were that powerful, what would happen if they decided to expand into Confederation space? Should we try to make peace with them? Asked one council member. Zeke Rouse thought about the human captain who had spared his life. I think peace would be wise, but they will negotiate as equals, not as subjects. The age of the Confederation ruling the galaxy may be over. Back on Earth, President Hayes was meeting with representatives from 12 different alien species. They all wanted the same thing: friendship with humanity and protection from their enemies. Earth is interested in peaceful relationships with all species, Hayes told the gathered aliens. But we will not be anyone's servants, and we will not allow anyone to be ours. If you want our friendship, you must treat us as equals. The aliens agreed quickly. They had all heard what happened to the Zephyrians when they tried to make Earth submit. Captain Lisa Ford was now commanding her own ship, leading patrols around the solar system. Her fighter pilot skills had made her famous, and she had been promoted to captain of the new cruiser UE's Independence. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, her tactical officer reported. Unknown vessel approaching the system. Ford looked at her screen. The ship was small and appeared to be unarmed. Standard procedure: challenge them and escort them to the checkpoint. This had become routine. Every day, new ships arrived at Earth seeking trade, alliance, or simply wanting to see the species that had defeated the mighty Confederation. As the months passed, Earth became the center of a new kind of galactic politics instead of empires. Ruling through fear and conquest, species began forming voluntary alliances based on mutual benefit and respect. The Leviathan remained in Earth orbit, a constant reminder of human power. But more importantly, it was a symbol of human determination. It showed the galaxy that some species would fight for their freedom, no matter what the odds. Children around the world grew up pointing at the great ship in the sky, knowing that it protected them from anyone who might want to harm their planet. They learned that their species had faced the greatest test possible and had not only survived, but had won. The galaxy was a different place now. The age of easy conquest was over. Any species that wanted to expand would have to deal with the possibility that their targets might fight back with weapons and determination. They could not imagine Earth had sent a message to the stars, written in fire and steel. Humanity was no longer a primitive species hiding on a small world. They were a force to be respected, a people who would bow to no one. The Leviathan continued its silent orbit, watching over Earth and reminding the galaxy that some species simply refused to be conquered. The stars belonged to everyone now, but they belonged to humans too, and humanity intended to keep it that way.